chicken breakdown, so I didn't do my marinade last night. I'm just going to go through that step of what that would look like, and then we're just going to go ahead and start it now, okay? This is still going to taste dynamite, okay? It's a small bird. It won't take much penetration. I think I can see a little better. Let me get a little sip of coffee here. I'll pull my bird out, and we'll get this party started. Good to see you, Elizabeth, Danelle. Good to see you, folks. Some of you I know, some of you I'm meeting for the first time. So, is this a family show? Or can we make cock jokes? You guys can make all the cock jokes you want. That's what we're doing here. Now at work, I have to discourage that sort of thing, but we don't have to discourage that here at all. Okay, so here's my rooster. He kind of rolled over. A couple of things I want to show you. Let me just kind of check my angle. Yeah, I think you can see that. A few things I want to show you. I've got his chicken feet here. I hope this isn't too disturbing, okay? But I've got his chicken feet. Can't even get them in there. They're pretty disturbing looking feet. They look like they're off a dinosaur. I'm going to throw those in a stock pot. I'm saving up a bunch of veggies. Let me get up here for a minute. So I've got the feet here, and I've got a container here, and I'm just throwing stuff in here for my stock, okay? I'm going to save all my bones and stuff. Other things that I can throw in my stock pot, I have the neck here. Sometimes you get that when you get a chicken at home, okay? So the neck's going in there. Lots and lots of connective tissue in there, and when we're making stocks, connective tissue is our friend. Heck, connective tissue is our friend in these stews as well, because I mentioned how acids will break down connective tissues, but when they do that, those connective tissues convert to gelatin, and gelatin gives us richness and body and makes everything all sticky and delicious in our mouth. And so anyway, back to these bird parts, okay? I've got a heart here, and heart is muscle. That's good for the stock pot, or you can kind of cook it up and eat it if you like. It's a little bit tough, okay? But I'm just going to go ahead and put mine in the stock pot. It's meat. Also the gizzard in here, okay? That gizzard is a little muscle in there that kind of breaks up, dirt clods and rocks and things like that in the chicken's not intestinal system, but a digestive system. And so we got that muscle right there, and that's meat too. That can go in the stock pot. Also, I have liver here. It's a very tiny liver on this guy. It's in beautiful shape, okay? No disease or tumors or anything on that. That's usually one of the things we check, are the organs, right? So this is a very healthy rooster. This liver is something that I won't throw in the stock pot. Kidneys either. If you get a hold of kidneys, you don't want those in your stock pot. I mentioned this in another video, how these will cloud up your stock and make it taste like liver. It's got that irony taste, okay? So I've got a little dish here. I'm going to save these livers for a Scooby snack later, okay? I'm going to save that and eat that. We are utilizing every part of this chicken. So those are all the parts that I have. The only thing we did not use was the intestinal tract, basically, and a few little tissues from inside, okay? So let me see. I got to rinse a hand here and move a camera. And I don't think I'll be moving my camera anymore after this one until we break this bird down. Okay, so here it is. As I break this down, I'm going to lay the parts out on the board so you can see them. I've got one flap of skin here that I'm going to go ahead and remove. I'm going to leave a little of that skin on there, but you don't want to see that all flopping around. I think you can see a little better without that, okay? So I didn't trim it too closely. I'm going to put that in my stock pot as well. That is flavor, and that's also fat. When I make stocks, half of the job is getting the fat out of there as well, okay? Now you can see, as I was saying, this looks nothing like a Foster Farms bird. It's often kind of disappointed if you're trying to go get a heritage breed. I'll still keep picking little pin feathers and fat off of here. But you go to get a heritage breed, you want to kind of support the food system, the local food systems, and those heritage breeds are just not what consumers are used to. You have to understand that those heritage breeds haven't been selectively bred to work in the modern food system the way we have developed, okay? So these breeds just simply, they're going to be tougher, they're going to have more flavor to them, more texture to them, more bite to them, but they're also going to be pretty expensive. It costs a lot to raise these animals. It costs a lot to support a humane and clean food system. But it is worth it just to support these breeds of animals. If you guys can afford it, you want to support these producers, okay? So look how dark that flesh is. It looks like I already marinated this chicken, okay? It's pretty amazing. This is just kind of a darker skinned breed here. Still a few little feathers here that are bugging me. Sorry, my OCD is doing this. doing this to me. Okay, so since we have the back facing you, we'll start out there. So here is the back of our bird, and you can see it's kind of hard and bony and flat. I did a chicken breakdown video a few weeks ago where I kind of showed you just how to get the meat off of the carcass. Today I'm going to do a whole bone-in carcass. This is how you would cut a chicken if you were going to be making fried chicken or something like that, how it's still bone-in. Now, traditionally, what we see is an 8-way chicken, okay? When you look at the bird, 2 of the parts are right here. So here's a thigh and a leg, so 1 and 2, thigh and a leg, so 3 and 4 parts. And then there's the 2 wings, that's another 2 parts, right? So that takes it up to the 6. And then for an 8-way chicken, you cut the breast in half, and then you have an 8-way chicken, okay? And that's kind of been that was the industry standard for years and years, until I heard this, the legend goes, Colonel Sanders came along and discovered and kind of made the 9-way chicken popular. What you do with a 9-way chicken, you still get the 6 pieces down here, and then you have that breast, and instead of cutting it in half, you cut a third of it off, and you cut that extra 2/3 in half, so you cut it into thirds, and that way you have 9 pieces, and the extra 3 pieces are a little more the same size as these other pieces. When you cut the breast in half, it's just much larger, okay? So I'm going to show you a 9-way cut on this bird. So first, I'm going to flip it over. That's kind of where I started. It's kind of hard and bony back here on the back. And what I want to do is I want to kind of take the wings off first. And to do that, I kind of pull the wings against the direction or opposite the direction they want to go. And it kind of stretches the skin right there. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do this with a regular chef or cook's knife, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and just slash the skin. I'm not really trying to cut the meat, and I'm really trying to avoid the breast. I actually kind of nicked that breast there. Sorry about that. Once I nick that, I'm going to kind of pull back on that joint a little bit more, and the joint will open up. It's right there. I'm going to avoid this breast meat over here, and I'm just going to get in there. I get in there with my knife, and I found that joint, and it just opened up. And now I'm going to make a sweeping cut away from that chicken breast. I'm going to use the tip of my knife for this part. The tip is thinner than this area, so it's easier to make turns, okay? So there's a wing, and when I do my wing, I usually pull my wing, twist my wing back behind the drumette there, and it locks it in place, and so you get those nice little triangles. You see a lot of chefs doing that. My bacon is just kind of on low here. It's not doing anything. I'm going to take off that other wing. You saw this in my other video too. You pull where you get the most resistance, get that little flap of skin, and just cut the skin. I'm not going to cut so deep this time. And then I'm going to start cracking it. Maybe I should have cut a little deeper. There we go. I start cracking it, and there's the joint, and I just get inside that joint and cut away from the chicken breast. Away from the breast. I'm going to lock that one back behind, still finding little feather pieces, but we're looking good. This is a very tiny bird. Paltry little thing. So next I'm going to take off the legs here, okay? We saw this in another video. I'm going to kind of pull the legs taut, and you can see that skin stretching there again. And I'm just going to do a tiny little slice just into the skin, not into the meat. It opens up a cavity in there, basically. You see how I can just stick my finger way in there? And this side as well, it opens up a cavity. I can stick my finger way in there, okay? Once you get that slit, I'm going to cut that side a little more. Didn't need to, but just so you can see, okay? And now what I do is I pop one side, I pull on the legs. Boy, this guy's much tougher than a Foster Farms. This is tough. Let me cut my skin a little more. Boy, Foster Farms, mass-produced commodity chicken, that's what I'm used to. Right now I'm popping the leg joints out. You see that one on that side, and there's the knuckle on that other leg there, okay? So I just popped both of those. The experience of cleaning this guy, very different from cleaning even heritage-raised birds that I've gotten before. This is the toughest, stringiest bird I've ever worked with in my life. Okay, once I get those legs off, I'm going to remove those guys. I tend to start kind of at the back. And I don't really want to, I want to leave the hip bone behind on these guys. So I'm going to use the tip of my knife for the most part, and I'm going to do long, smooth strokes as I move forward on the bird. I just lost a little meat there. This is a precious bird. I don't want to lose any meat on this guy. I'm going to cut forward until I see the joint where I popped the leg out earlier. It's right there. And once I see that, I'm going to hold it down and I'm going to pull that leg. Boy, I don't know if this guy's going to come off. Yeah, there I got it. I got it. Boy, this bird has a huge oyster. Look at that. The pocket right there just pulled this muscle out right there. It is a long, big, fat oyster on that. And that's what I was trying to harvest when I yanked that leg, okay? There's going to be a lot of cleanup. The oysters, boy, it's connected in a very tenuous way to the meat, but it's still there. So there's a leg and a thigh, and then I'm going to pull off this other leg and a thigh as well. I got to tell you, folks, this chicken, it's got a different feel than any bird I've ever worked with. So again, I'm trying to pick up the meat on the backside there by the Pope's nose, and I'm moving towards the head. I'm moving forward. Once I get to that joint where I popped that knuckle, I'm trying to see where you guys are. I hold the chicken down with my knife and I pull, and that oyster got left behind. It stayed put. So there's my leg and thigh there. I'm going to get in with my thumb and pop that oyster out if I can. Yeah. And show you what it looks like. So there's the pocket from whence it came on both sides. You can see that little pocket right there on both sides. And then there is a full oyster. Those are big oysters, and boy, these guys are tough. Okay, that's going to be my Scooby snack over there. All right, so the last thing I want to do is kind of harvest the breast from here, okay? There's really not much going on in this area right here. This is rib cage right in here and everything. It's really easy for your knife to move through this. So I'm going to move my knife forward in this and then kind of break a connection here, and then we'll take this whole back piece out of here, and that's going to go in my stock pot, okay? We're going to do that on both sides, so I'm just going to do one side at first. Like I said, there's really not much you're cutting through here. Moving forward on the bird, and then I'm going to do this side, and then I usually crack it. So right now you can hear me cutting through ribs. I get down here and I break the chicken, and there's one of those bones that sticks up, and once I'm there I separate it. It looks like a big mess right now, sorry folks. And I'm trying to find where I can cut. If you heard me like scraping on bone a second ago, if you're hitting bone, you're in the wrong spot, okay? So there's my back. Look how dark things are. This is a red meat bird. This is like it looks like duck meat. The leg meat, this looks nothing like poultry, like chickens that you've seen before. Okay, there's a little bit of cleanup here. A little tiny piece of lung is still in there. I don't want that for the stock pot. And I don't like that. Okay. Now this is a fairly mature bird. I can tell because if you've seen chickens before, your Foster Farms are like bone back here. They're cartilage up here. This entire bone is hard and calcified right here. This bird has had a pretty long life as far as roosters go. Most of them don't go this long. Now take a look at this scrawny little breast, okay? What we're going to be doing is cutting this in thirds. You can see how if I just cut this in half into a traditional 8-way, which is what they teach in culinary school, it's like your standard, the breasts are like so much bigger than the other pieces that you're going to get, right? It just doesn't fit, and so we add that 9th cut. Here it is right here. I'm going to just cut 1/3 of this guy off, and I'm going to go back to my heavy part of my knife and smack this guy. Boy, this is usually cartilage right here. Snapping it. And usually your knife goes right through. Come on, buddy. Boy, I should have grabbed a heavier knife than this old school one. But there's a little breast piece, okay? 1/3 of my breast. And then I got to get through this thing. I'm getting a heavier knife. Hold on a minute. Because this is a pretty flimsy knife for this job. I got the guy for this. I got to lean on it. If you guys are doing this at home, your bird's not even going to be like this. Let's see. I got a bruiser around here somewhere. Just the thing. Just the knife, okay? That's a 13-inch. Okay, I'm going to go in the back way here and kind of set my blade into it. There we go. And start smacking it. I'm not too worried about the keel bone on this guy either, because, boy, I almost need a rubber mallet to get through this thing. There we go. The keel bone was extremely calcified as well. Boy, something else. I'm feeling for any shards of bone there. I'm okay. There's a little piece I lost going in the stock pot. And I just needed that one knife for that last part. I'm going to go back to my other knife. I'm trying to fix my poor skin here that got a little mangled from all of that. And there is, well, not quite a 9-way yet. I've got to separate my leg and thighs. I showed you this trick the other day. There's a line where nature wants you to cut right there. It's a line of fat right there. The fat on this is almost orange in color. So I lay my knife right on that fat. If you're not hitting the joint, just kind of scoot your knife one way or the other. You'll find it. There it is. There's that oyster, by the way, hanging off the side. There it is. This piece has excess skin. I'm going to trim it. That thigh piece. That's going in my stock pot. And another thing I want to do, I think I am going to get my heavy knife back, is I showed you this in another video. I always like to take the knuckle off of the end of this. Oh, went right through. Very nice. So that's going in my stock pot as well. When this cooks down, it'll be a nice French bone at the end there. I got to separate another leg and thigh. And we can finish up rendering here and we'll start our coq au vin. Okay? So here is my line of fat right there. Missing it. Where are you, baby? There you are. And I'm going to lop off this knuckle. It came right off. And I'm done with my chicken fabrication. Let me lay them all out for you. Boom. 2 leg and thigh. My chicken breast thirds, and 2 wings. Let me kind of get my hands happening here, okay? So there it is. 2 leg and thigh right there. 3 pieces of breast, not quite equal thirds, and then 2 chicken wings, okay? And so that's what we're going to be searing up next. I'm going to get my fire back up on this bacon and get it rendered the rest of the way. It's not going to be too long. Jim Turknick back, a Sacramento great. Hey Jim Turknick, where are you working these days, buddy? You still in the business? This is one of my old bosses out there, guys. Still bringing my bacon back up. It's real close. Josh is watching. Who else is out there? Jim, Brandon Morgan, good to see you. Letitia, good to see y'all. My hands are all wet. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to drink a coffee here and keep it going. All right, I'm going to set this chicken aside for now so I can move. And we are really all about getting this bird on the fire now. It's enough talk. Let's get this puppy going, okay? We've got searing to do, and as we do that searing, we're going to need some, we are going to need to get a lot of things going. We got to get things seared and out of there, and then I got to get more searing and browning and things like that going. So we got a little cooking to do here. I just grabbed a little dish, and we are getting our bacon finished up, okay? You can see it's pretty close, just kind of sitting there while I was breaking down the chicken. That bacon was still rendering out. And it's getting to where you can see they're nice big lardons and they're still a little bit soft. Now, when I'm starting a recipe, or let me back up. When I'm eating bacon for breakfast, I do like crispy bacon, but when I'm starting a recipe, I like it just on this side of crispy, where it's still a little bit of give in that bacon. I don't like to finish plates with like crispy, chunky bacon unless it's like potato skins or something like that. But if it's like, you know, a coq au vin or some, French dish, and I'm finishing it with pieces of lardon, I don't want them like crispy. I want them just this side of crispy, almost chewy. These guys are just perfect right here, okay? Let me get this camera down here. Okay? There it is, ladies and gentlemen, just this side of crispy. That's what I'm talking about. Let me get that off. I'm turning it off. And now I've got some little crispy bits in there. We'll pull them on out. And I really do need to get this guy searing. Now that bacon is not going in the pot. That's going in the dish like at the last minute, so it's still crispy and chunky and everything. I might throw a little in with the mix and then save a little for the top, which is kind of the nicest way to go. Okay, so that's what you're gonna see me kind of messing around with later. I got my fat kind of turned down way, way, way low. I haven't finished kind of prepping this chicken. I gotta get it into a bowl and start it marinating. I didn't have my bowl ready. Bad, chef, bad. Okay, let me get a bottle of wine open real quick. And today I am just using I'm using a Kendall Jackson red blend, okay? It's kind of a Bordeaux style red blend. It's pretty inexpensive. This is probably about an $8 or $9 bottle of wine, okay? Maybe more like 11, okay? It's actually drinkable. That's my rule with wine. If I don't want to drink it, I'm not going to use it in a recipe, basically, okay? So when we're doing this chicken, what we want to do is I want to kind of get a marinade. This would have been done the day before. I'm going to drop all my parts into a bowl, and I'm going to season them liberally. I'm going to season the blazes out of them, okay? Let me rinse a hand, and I got to really wash this board off. Let me do that right now. Keep looking at that chicken. I'm going to get all this stuff done so I have a clean board. I don't have to worry about it later. A little sanitizer, my little antimicrobial soap and all. Okay. I'm feeling better. All right, so liberal amounts of salt and red wine. You could also crush up some garlic in there. You can throw your veggies. I like to do my garlic and veggies separately. I don't like to really marinate them because when I get them all wet, it tends to impede their browning, and I need to brown them off later. So lots and lots of salt. I'm even throwing more on. I'm using a French sea salt today. It's pretty coarse. It's a new salt I just got. Oh, I know what this is. There's a little, I added a tiny bit of Maldon salt to my thing of salt just to get rid of a container. So it's a little rough. Okay, so lots and lots of seasoning. I need that seasoning to penetrate the meat. So the night before, I'm really salting it. And I would also like pour on my wine. I'm just gonna do a tiny little bit just to simulate. I really don't want a lot of liquid at this time, but it'll be sitting in its wine overnight. So I'm getting that salt and all of that distributed. Bad chef, bad chef. And I'm gonna hit it with some pepper as well. Regular old black pepper. When we're doing French cuisine, you see a lot of the black pepper in the mix. Flip that again. You know, I would probably have a little more wine in this. I would throw it all together and just let it soak overnight. So right now we're simulating the act of marinating this, okay? Now I showed you the wine that I'm going to be using for cooking today, but tonight I'm going to be drinking this. This is actually a Burgundy wine, okay? And this is the traditional wine for coq au vin right there. Traditionally used with Burgundy, but really when you think about it, a French peasant is going to use what they have on hand, and so is a quarantine chef. I'm going to use what I have in hand for cooking. I think that wine is just a little too good for drinking, okay? I got that wine, by the way, from Abby Grabish Farms, and also Abby Grabish runs a great new little wine bar called The Pip in Dixon, California. If you want to support a local business, start buying your wine at The Pip in Dixon. She delivers in Sacramento from what I hear, okay? So look up The Pip in Dixon. She hooked me up with this Burgundy that I'm going to be drinking tonight, and we'll be talking some more about that one, okay? All right, back to my bird, okay? So I have marinated it. I don't have veggies in there yet, but the veggies I'll be using are going to be your standard mirepoix, and I'm going to just have some veggies in the pot. Again, mirepoix, carrot, celery, onion. I'm going to have these veggies in the pot, but I'm going to do some veggies to cook with the chicken. They're going to cook a long time, and I don't really want to eat them at the end, so I'm going to make different veggies for the actual pot tonight for the presentation, okay? So we're just going to have a few big pieces of veggie in the pot today. So carrot, celery, onion. I'm going to throw some garlic in there for sure, okay? And then I'm going to work in a little bit of tomato paste as well. Standard French flavors, again, bay leaf, thyme. I got a bunch of fresh thyme right there. and like I said, the black pepper. Okay, so all of this stuff's coming up. We're going to be putting all the veggies, cutting all that stuff while this chicken is searing. Okay, so searing 101. We're getting back into that, and I've done searing in several of my videos, okay, so far, but just to kind of remind you what searing is, we are looking for a very high heat in a pan. We are looking for a little bit of fat in the pan, which you just saw me generate, cooking off all that bacon and everything, right? And then what we're looking for after we sear is a golden brown, okay? Those are the three things that searing involves. So right now, I put that bacon fat back on the fire. It's still got some little crispy bits in there, and they're going to kind of add to the flavor and everything. This is a peasant dish. It's a one-dish thing. You're going to see me kind of dry off my chicken as it goes in. We don't want to try and sear wet chicken. It won't pick up any color that way, so I'm just going to dab it off as it's going into the pan. And right now, before I drop anything, I'm just waiting for that oil in there to just smoke slightly, and that's where we are. Let me get things a little closer and you can kind of see. So chicken here, pan there, everything's nice and close. We were talking about movement, you know, economy of motion. And I'm looking for a little smoke to appear on the edges here. I'm just going to grab a little piece and just touch it to the pan and see what we get. Yeah, I'm getting some searing, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go with this. I'm going to daub it off a little bit. Because again, I just got it wet. Normally all that marination would be the night before. Daub it off. And daub it off. And those are going to sear while I start prepping things. I think I'll set that right there for now. I have to wash hands. And while this is searing, one thing I want to do is move the chickens away from each other. I think I can get one more piece in there. But I don't really want to crowd the pan, and so I'm doing this in batches, so to speak. So here's another piece going in. And you guys get the idea. Again, high heat, small amount of fat, don't crowd the items. If you crowd them, steam starts kind of developing and it can't escape. You want that steam to be able to dissipate. I've been touching chicken. Let me wash up a little bit. And there we go. This is where we need to bend. Notice that I'm not messing with that chicken at all. We got to step away from the bird. I say it all the time. Let that stuff pick up a sear. The more searing we get, the more flavor we're going to get in the finished product. I'm going to open up a window and get a little sunshine in here. Maybe another sip of coffee. There's that chicken again. And I might check the searing on one of those pieces. I think this was the first piece that went in. Look at that. Golden brown. That's what I'm looking for. We're going to flip it over. Golden brown. And there they go. Flipping them around. And you guys get the idea there. While that's going, I want to kind of chunk up some vegetables for the pot that are going to give me some extra flavor for this, okay? As I said, things are going to be searing in batches, and so this gives us something to do while that's all happening, okay? So I've got a few vegetables on the counter there. Let me get a peeler. Bad chef. Oh no. There it is. I knew I had it. All right, I'm going for carrot first. I'm not going to use all of this. And this is less traditional in this dish, but I'm going to throw a parsnip in the mix. Just a piece of it, just like a bay leaf. I'm going to pull it out later, okay? So I'm going to get a little parsnip going here. I'm only going to peel half of this guy. That parsnip just adds a nice background flavor. So I left half of it unpeeled because I'm not going to use it all. That celery is pretty much ready to go. And then I'm going to have an onion as well. I'm going to be working garlic